Ryan Kennedy on Shropshire Live.
So from being Scott Robinson in Neighbours to having huge chart success from the hit factory of Stock Aitken and Waterman like this, to musicals, to so much more, Jason Donovan is celebrating it all and is coming to Wolverhampton, to the Wolfront, on the 27th of February. And he's on the show to tell you more. Jason, hello.
Ryan, thank you for having me.
So nice to be talking about Doin Fine. Well, basically, this is kind of like the sequel, isn't it, to the Doin Fine tour from last year, because it went more than fine.
Yeah, I mean, look, we had a successful run of those shows, and there was a number of towns that I didn't get to. We're having fun, so we thought, should we roll out some more dates? That's sort of the nuts and the bolts to it. It's a show that I was really proud of, put together. I think it's the most comprehensive, authentic show that I've ever done. Very personal touch to me. So yeah, it's I'm excited to be coming to Wolverhampton.
What do we get then from the show, Jason?
Well, I mean, there's always the songs that people know and love, but I think the biggest insight to this show was sort of the first half, which had a lot more of my theatre-based work. There's also a little bit of a moment with my dad, who I recorded a song many years ago, "I've Got You Under My Skin," which I sort of sing along with him. Technology enables us to do that. Of course, my father at the age of 26, and he turned 90. So
yeah, I was going to say, he's just had a big birthday, hasn't he?
Yeah. So, there's sort of little personal, magical things like that. But look, some shows, come together a lot easier than others, and this was just one of those magical tours. So yeah, we're doing a bunch of shows next year.
So what was, when you were growing up around your dad, he was obviously in the business, and you were both in Neighbours. Was it kind of inevitable the way that your career was going to take?
I was surrounded by actors growing up. They're not the most bunch of people, but I guess in a way that's the nature of the business. And I think in life you create your own luck, but timing has a lot to do with how we move and shape and what happens to us in our lifetimes, professionally, personally. And, for me, Neighbours came along, and that was really the leverage that sort of took me to a different place. But it was through my dad's, work and watching him growing up. I was an only child. I was brought up by my dad. My parents split when I was young. So I guess it's through his legacy that really that creative sort of journey began.
Ryan Kennedy, weekday mornings from 10 on Shropshire Live.
Joined by singer Jason Donovan today. He's at the Wolfront in Wolverhampton on the Doin Fine Encore, 27th of February. But need to look back on those days of huge chart success working at the hit factory with Stock Aitken and Waterman.
Yeah, I mean, that was sort of a golden era of, television. As we know, there was only 4 or 5 channels. So, the digestion of the public was very sort of funneled towards shows like Neighbours. And I mean, if you think you're on television 5 times a week, people fall in love with the characters, you release records that sort of run parallel to those stories, and you're complementing your characters is probably what I'm saying through the music. Stock Aitken Waterman were very successful at the time. So that sort of marriage, even the marriage with Andrew Lloyd Webber for me going into Joseph, sort of complemented my own story. And, I guess it's sort of, if you really want to look, it's a bit like what X Factor did every week. They have a backstory, you get to know the characters on stage, and then the door opens and they come and sing one of your favourite songs and fall in love with them because music is a little bit of magic.
And you mentioned Stock Aitken and Waterman, absolutely huge at the time, and that they were dubbed the Hit Factory because they just churned out hit after hit. What was it like being a part of that?
Well, I mean, there wasn't a lot of time to really think, because, obviously the success of Neighbours, was a big part of that moment in time. But yeah, to be part of that production team, it was just exciting. They were great songs, great melodies. At that point, it was, just one of those golden moments where everything you did sort of was just in popular culture. Just to have records at number 1, Too Many Broken Hearts came out, sort of changed my life, to have that song, Especially for You, 10 Good Reasons, the album. I've always been fascinated by music. So to be in that pop world, was really exciting. I mean, when I look back, it's interesting on BBC Four when you see, the Top of the Pops repeat. It's like another lifetime. It brings it all sort of home, and watching you along with other artists at the time. Whether it was Lisa Stansfield or Simple Minds or In Excess, it was exciting. It was really exciting.
Relive those days and so much more on the Doin Fine Encore, Wolverhampton on the 27th of February. Jason Donovan, thank you so much for being with us today.
Shropshire Live.